So now we'll go into Division 9, finishes. We have a lot of items in that division. Basically, it's everything that ends up to the view of people, and that will be considered finishes. The paint, the drywall, the support for that, backing boards, tiles, carpet, suspended ceiling, all of that can be considered finishes. I have here a link to some construction data also that talks a little bit about the room finishes, what the estimating techniques are for different elements, and it gives you some guidance in terms of what percentage should you use in terms of waste. So you see there are different ways to estimate the waste depending on the author. I don't know if I have talked about this before, but there is the version of RS Means that it's online, and you can try it. I think it's for 30 days or so. Let me see if I can get this to work. Yeah, there it is. The issue is, they ask you to fill in this questionnaire. Oh, it's 3 days. I'm sorry. I thought it was 30. It's 3 days of unlimited access to that software. So I don't know. You may be interested in playing with that a little bit. So we have in finishes, we have partitions, we have floor, wall, ceilings, we have the suspended ceiling, paint, all of that. There is normally a room finish schedule, a table in the set of drawings that tells you for each one of the rooms what is the finish that you have on floors, walls, and the ceiling. So you would like to look into that, make sure that you are familiar with how to go from the plan view to the room finish schedule and understand the different symbols. Here is an example. I don't think this is our course project. I think this is another project where you have a room finish schedule, so it tells you what is the floor, the base, the wall, the ceilings, and then it has a symbol that shows what type of finish each one of the walls have, and then reference to a drawing that has finishes on it. So that's an example of that type of icons or symbols to identify the finishes. Also, we may have a list of accessories that are also, considered either finishes or specialties. Specialties are those items that are manufactured outside the job site and then they come in to be just installed. So here we have some accessories. They call these here plumbing accessories, but they're really, elements that give final touches to the restroom here. So they have a paper towel dispenser, a toilet paper holder, and so on. So each one of these has a symbol, and you can then identify what they are and include them into your estimate update. So anyway, that's finishes. And then we have also some other drawings that can show cross sections of the rooms or the plans, and then you can see exactly how those finishes are going to be completed. Like in this case, we have the wall will be tile. The definition, the schedule can say what is the size of each one of the of the tiles that are being installed and so on. But it may be difficult to write down the specifics So the architect will provide a cross section where you can see, well, okay, I have white all the way up to here, then I have a pattern that is a little bit different, and then I have white again all the way to the top. So then, you know, you can visualize that you have two different type of tiles or colors of tiles over there, so you need to include that in your estimate. The base, the boards where the walls are made of are supported with studs. The number of studs, as we saw before, can be calculated as the distance divided by the spacing plus 1. If you're calculating also the first one, there are a couple of tricks to this, because sometimes in the corners you have double or triple studs, so you have to really look at the drawings and make sure that you consider those ones. When you have openings, they're most likely also reinforced, so you will need to add additional studs for that. The gypsum board, you can have different types of gypsum board. Could have water resistant, could be fire retardant, could be, you know, different types. Can have also paper barrier put on the back. So there are different type of gypsum board. You need to look at the specifications and make sure that you get the right type. They usually come in sheets, ½ inch thick or 5/8, depending on the specifications. 4 feet by 8 feet or 16 feet wide. So you can count how many sheets you need by dividing the area by the area of the sheet, or doing the column row method. Tiles, again, you need to divide the area that you want to cover by the effective area of the tile, which is going to be the area of the tile plus the spacing. You can do rows and column methods to calculate the number of elements. When we have a suspended ceiling, the suspended ceiling has a metal grid. As you can see in this room, we have a border that goes all the way around the perimeter. That's an L-shaped metal that holds the last tiles. Then you have runners that are 12 feet long. Those normally are installed in the longest direction of the the room. Then you have 4 feet that goes across those, and then 2 feet that goes in the middle of the 4 feet. So that way you have a two tile on each set of the grid. Then you have to account for lights. These lights take the space of tiles, and also for HVAC units that may be also taking the space of tiles. I have a link here in how to install suspended ceiling. So let's watch that for a sec. I hope that helped a little bit to get a better idea of how the suspended ceiling system works and what are the components. Of course, you need to estimate those. There are a couple of ways to do that, and I'll show you later on hands-on use of on-screen takeoff that simplifies a little bit the work. So you have, here's an example where we have a suspended ceiling, and then, you know, what items. The 12-foot main support sections, 4 feet, 4 foot, 2 foot, 4x2s. These are all accounted, each one of those. And then the length of the wire ties, each one of those in inches. So, you know, you can estimate the different elements. We saw the anchors and everything. We could do a couple of things. We could use the assemblies cost data, which is easier because given the square feet, it gives you the total cost. or we could go and do the individual items using the cost data. Then we have in floors, wood laminates. These are normally glued to the floor. There is a gap left at the edges to allow for expansion and contraction of the wood. So that's normally considered when the installation is done. Oftentimes, or sometimes, depending on the level of moisture that you have on the floor, you may need to have a vapor barrier beneath the laminate floors, or sometimes the specifications call for some sound attenuator, so you need to install that as well. Pieces are normally staggered, so they're not lining all the connections together. There is normally trim at the edge of the perimeter that covers that gap. There's also trim at transitions. Normally those are measured by linear feet and then counted items because you buy them on pieces. So you depending on how you're doing the estimate, you may have either number of items or linear feet. Normally your estimate will be measured linear feet and then do the conversion if you need to. Vinyl, it comes in sheets, so you need to set up and make sure that the seams or the patterns are aligned, and the installation is done in such way that the number of seams is the least possible, so it looks nice. Because you need to match the pattern, there is more waste material than you would have in a similar installation for carpet, for example. You don't have to match the pattern. Also, vinyl can come in tiles rather than rolls. So basically, you install each one of these 12 by 12 squares. They're glued down, and you know, some of those they come already with glue, so you just have to peel the back and install the tiles. So it depends on what type of tiles you have. Carpet and pad, very similar to the vinyl sheets. You have to lay down the roll and then cut the edges and then put the next one and seal the gap. Normally around the perimeter there is a board of wood that has nails. So you need to measure that and thank you. Bless you. You also may have a pad underneath the carpet. Depending on what type of application, the type of pad may be different. Normally it's just a basic pad to give some soundproof and comfort when you're walking on the carpet. Then we have paint. Paint is based on the square feet of walls, the ceilings, the floors. You need to paint the trim, that's accounted separately because normally the type of paint that you're using is a little bit different. You need to do a different colors, and you need to have different accounting for them. The doors are normally counted items, so you estimate how many doors you need to paint and count those. The amount of paint that you use depends a lot on the surface, depends on the type of paint that you're using, so it varies. Here is a general values. You can expect 1 gallon of paint to cover about 350 square feet. So that's a good guide that you can use if you don't know exactly how much to use. If you're using sprays, that normally takes more paint, although it's faster the painting than it will be with rollers. If you're painting a light color over a dark color, then you need more paint to cover the back paint, or you need to use a primer that will take, you know, the dark color off. Otherwise, it will show.
Hey, Professor.
Yep.
So when you talk about like the square footage, 350, you're talking about the length and the height of the
Yes,
wall.
of the
not
wall. Correct.
Not the room.
No, not the room,
That's
because
good.
the room you use that for the carpet or for the suspended ceiling. But when you are going to estimate finish for the walls, then you need to estimate the perimeter, multiply by the height of the walls, and then you get the area that you need to paint.